Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Craig Monroe, founder of Elegant Literature and judge of the Elegant Literature Award for New Writers. And I'm here with our most recent winner, Megan Becker. Hello, Megan.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us and congratulations on winning the $3,000 prize.
Thank you so much. It was definitely a shock. I was not expecting it, but it was really exciting. So thank you.
Fantastic. When you emailed me, after I emailed you and you responded, you said something about how your husband and your kids were crying for you or something like that.
Yes, I was actually at work in a meeting. So my husband knew that the results were coming out around 3. So he knew that I won before I did and told the kids to explain why they were going to pick up flowers and cards and things like that. So they were all crying. They all knew before I did, but it was pretty exciting in our house that night.
That's so wonderful. Did they tell you, or did they let you come home and look at the magazine yourself and then burst
So
out the flowers, or did you walk into applause?
no, I was looking for the magazine as well at 3 o'clock. So when my meeting was over, I pulled it up, and I know you say not to scroll through looking for the winner, but I was just kind of looking at the list. I started with the honorable mentions and didn't see my name, and so I had actually seen it while at work. So my coworkers were the first people that I could like share the excitement with, I guess, in person. So I knew, and then there were a lot of texts back and forth, and then a phone call on the way home. So no, they didn't. They didn't surprise me when I got home, but the flowers were a surprise, and of course, my kids did some artwork and things like that too, which was really nice.
That's so nice. And it sounds like your family is kind of involved in supporting of you and your writing in general as well. It's not just something that you're kind of doing on your own that they don't really know about. They're aware of your efforts.
They are, and it's been a dream of mine for 30 years to be a writer. So to have them be on board and really supportive, and my husband knows how much it means to me to write, and my kids themselves, they're 9 and almost 9 and 12, and they love art. They want to be writers and illustrators themselves a little bit. So like my son will ask if we can sit down and write together. So super supportive family. I'm really grateful for them.
Oh, that's so great. And now you've won an award. As well. So you wanted to be a writer for 30 years and you're published and you've won an award. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. Is this your first publication?
Other than a literary magazine in college, which I don't know if that one really counts, because that was kind of like everyone gets in and there was no money involved. But yes, this is my first one. And it was my first entry too. It was something I decided
Wow.
this year I was really going to push myself outside my comfort zone and enter contests. And so I really could not believe that my story won.
Well, it was a great story. And so why don't we talk about that a little bit? So Megan, you wrote Going for the Gold, which obviously I loved since I selected it as the winner. And anybody watching this, if you haven't read that story, then pause this video and go read it because we're going to talk about it and spoil it. And it's a great story. It's in our 16th issue, All That Glitters, and it's free on the website, of course, as always. So go check that out, read it, come back. And for anyone who totally ignored my advice just there, Megan, why don't you give us like a 30-second, 1-minute recap of what your story is about in your own words?
Sure. So the story follows Gwen, who's our main character, who is a dancer. And at her dance studio, there is a special dress every year for their recital, and the best dancer gets to wear it. But she's a little oversized for the dress, I guess. So she feels this pressure to shrink herself down to fit into the dress to be able to be the featured dancer in this recital. And she puts a lot of, sorry, I'm not intending the puns, but she puts a lot of weight in what that dress means for her and her future. And she just feels like she kind of has to make everyone happy and live her life for her dad, for her friends, for her teachers. And there's just a lot of pressure that she kind of puts on herself. She ruins a friendship, and luckily it's able to kind of be healed at the end. But she's just under a lot of pressure and makes some unhealthy decisions and is not able to actually wear the dress that she earns then in the end because of those unhealthy choices.
Yeah. And it was really well written. And the characters were so believable and the choices they made. I think that's one of the things I said in my judges' comments, that I love that part of it. You could really empathize with both characters, and kind of if you were put in either shoes, you might do similar things. So yeah, I thought that was great. So where did this story come from?
It's a great question. So I loved the prompt and I really struggled for a few days with what to start writing about because I feel like there were a lot of really great kind of interpretations of the prompt in itself. But I wanted to do something that was not expected or obvious, but still very true to the prompt. I didn't want to go super abstract. So initially, I had thought about writing about a gymnast who was trying to win a gold medal at the Olympics or something like that, but I have zero background knowledge about gymnastics. I know really nothing about what it takes to compete at that level. But my niece danced for years and years. My daughter takes dance, not in like a really high pressure studio, which is great. But I know a little bit of the dance world. So I felt like I had more credentials to write about that kind of story. And I just wanted to stick to the prompt, but kind of interpret it in not like a rags versus riches kind of way, but someone who had this goal that they set for themselves and they find out that working to achieve that goal might not have been the best thing for them.
Yeah, definitely. And was any of this based off any personal experience, or like you said, your niece dances with, modeled after, or any of the characters like people or is it somewhat of a true story? Is it just totally fictitious that you just kind of put the pieces together in the way that you did?
It's pretty fictitious. I think the relationship between the friends kind of echoes some of my friendships in high school where you like the part where Joey is poking her and she's like, poke, poke, like looking for the zipper to your skin suit, that kind of thing. That's the humor that my friends and I had growing up. The trip to New York is, I love going to New York City on the bus trips and the field trips and things like that. And the mass, journey to the candy shop and things like that. Those are little bits and pieces of my life or my niece's life or things like that. But just in general, it was just kind of two characters I made up in a situation that came into my head when I couldn't think of anything else. So it's mostly fictitious.
Yeah, great. And is this sort of indicative of what you normally write, or is this like, did you normally write kind of contemporary stories that are around any kind of like these sort of themes or feelings, or is this totally a deviation from the high fantasy you normally write?
So it's really funny that you asked that because the thing I love about the contest is that it pushes me to write in different genres that I'm used to. I actually have two novels that I've been working on for a little while. One is very conspiracy theory, like kind of out there. And then the other one is a contemporary romance, which I just started getting into that genre last year. But I find that I really struggle to give characters happy endings in short stories. So I really deviated from the romance genre, and a lot of my short stories are a little darker. And my mom even asked that too. She's like, one, why do the moms always die? And why is it so dark? And a couple other family members asked me that too. And I'm like,
The mom's taking exception with the mom's always dying in your stories. I can understand.
yeah. Well, I told her I was raised on like Disney princess movies, which is a big theme there too. But yeah, I really kind of look at the prompt and think of what story might come to me. And I don't really think of genre too much. I just kind of write the story that comes. So I'm kind of all over the board, but my longer works are definitely not quite this dark.
Yeah, they're happier. Yeah.
Well, the romance are. I guess the
Yeah.
conspiracy theory is a little on the darker side, but
And I mean, this story was very much a tragedy because the character of Gwen went through, like, she made the choices. She could have said no, and I mean, I can fully empathize with why she made the choices. An authority figure putting some pressure on her with respect, kind of thing. Like I want the best for you, but you have to fit into this image of what we need. And having like seeing what she wants to attain and what comes along with it, and so putting the pressure on herself to kind of conform to that, and then continuing along that path, just having the detrimental effects it does, and kind of ultimately leading to the sad ending where she doesn't get anything even after putting herself through all of that. It's certainly a little bit darker than your kind of fairy tale romance.
yeah, and it's YA too, I guess, which is something that I don't really dabble in when I write. But I think the idea of like that dance teacher who wants the best for you, but you do kind of have to fit in. When I was in high school, I did not dance, but I was in all the musicals. And if you auditioned, you could have a great singing voice, but if you were a girl who was taller than the leading guy, like they probably weren't going to cast you. So even there was that kind of image thing that these adults in our lives that we trust who are there to like make sure that we grow up healthy and safe and all that kind of stuff. Like there's still pressure on them to make, you know, Beauty and the Beast believable, where the Beast is this kind of towering character and Belle is very pretty, more petite maybe. And it's not just about your talent, but it is a little bit of how you look, and can you kind of meet the character description of the character too, kind of like fitting into the dress in this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's almost a sad criticism on society that that's the case. Cause like, sometimes these like children's plays, like in middle school and high school, where it shouldn't, it's not, you're performing for parents, right? You're performing for the parents of the kids. It's not like there's a massive talent scouts. Well, perhaps in the States, if they're taking it a little more seriously in the schools, but I know here in Canada, I think a lot of the high school plays aren't being scouted by talent, and you don't need to go to those lengths of conforming to the image of the play if you have the talented kids and you want to support them. So I mean, it's kind of too bad. But your story hits it on the head for sure. I mean, it was plausible all the way. I believed it, and it was well written. It was also really well paced, I thought. I think I mentioned that in my comments, that the beginning of it just moved along quite quickly. It didn't really waste a lot of breath on setting too much up that wasn't of importance, and we kind of learned what was going on along the way, got thrown right into it, and I liked that. Walk me through, how do you write? What's your writing process like? Did you just two characters in your head vaguely and just sit down and see how it goes, or did you kind of plan the story out a little bit in advance? How do you do it?
It's a really great question. I don't have a great process right now. It's just everything is different depending on which part of the story I'm inspired to write first, if that makes sense. So for this one, with the prompt, I knew that, okay, it's to me, it was kind of like the grass is not always greener on the other side, or the grass is always greener, but not. That's how I interpret that phrase. But I knew that it was not going to have necessarily the happiest ending. I knew that this is someone who's going to reach for a goal and not achieve it. So I knew that was my end point. And then I just kind of started at the beginning and worked toward it. And it came out. It came out in 2,500 words. And then I was like, okay, I have to cut out 20% of the story, which is why the pacing is what it is, because anything that did not contribute to propelling it forward had to be cut. So it just jumps right into that dialogue, which I think is my favorite way to start a story, whether I'm reading it or writing it. And we just had to cut out all the filler and keep it moving forward to that ending that I had kind of initially thought of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's definitely, isn't that how it goes? You write a little bit more and then you cut it back. It comes through, and the character's voice, like your dialogue is very strong. The character's voice comes through very well as too. Like it seems like kind of a kid, like you can get the sense of her as a bit of a child, but like at that in between teenager stage of young adulthood, I guess. And it comes through in her the vocabulary you use and the way the diction and the pacing of the sentences goes, even when it's just her thoughts and her dialogue. Would you say you're a strong dialogue writer, or did you have to work really hard in kind of your editing phase to get that to where it is?
It's a great question. I love writing dialogue, and I think in some cases I'm stronger than others, certainly. So in some of the other works that I'm doing right now, like the contemporary romance, I'm like, okay, how do I make this sound believable and not super like too cheesy? But for these characters, it came very naturally to me. And part of it is because I do spend time around kids, whether it's, my daughter and her friends, my son and his friends, going into schools and chaperoning different events, or my niece who is almost 20 years old. So I have had exposure to a whole bunch of different age groups of kids to be able to kind of pick up on how they speak to each other. Mm-hmm. And at one point when she is in that candy store in New York and she says hashtag vomit, hashtag ew, that is just me trolling all the kids that I know, because I love taking their little phrases that they use and kind of turning it around and using it against them to show them like, okay, this sounds really silly. So that was one of my favorite things. And it's also why I love writing in first person, because it's just really getting into the person's brain the whole way through the story. And then their dialogue is just kind of an extension of what you're hearing through that narration the whole way through. So yeah, in this one, I felt very comfortable with the dialogue and felt like I was able to just make it more believable with these characters.
Yeah, I think you did a fantastic job with that, and I think it really worked in your favor, and I loved it. Oh shoot, what was I going to ask? It just made me. Do you said you love to write in first person just for that reason, but and that works really well in short stories like this, but can be much more difficult to keep up over a novel length. Not impossible because it's done all the time, but are your two novels you've been working on in first person, or?
Yeah, so the contemporary romance that I'm working on is 100% first person. And I've discovered since I started reading contemporary romance that I don't love a dual POV going back and forth. It's not my favorite. But in the first novel that I wrote that took me almost 6 years to write, it's weird because it is sometimes first person, and that one does have a dual POV. So you do go back and forth between the two main characters, but then there are parts that are in third person. And that's something that as I'm getting more into writing groups, I'm learning people really hate. I don't know if I care if people hate it because it works for the story. And my husband does not like to read a whole lot, but he reads everything I write and he's like, oh, I would read more of this, which is,
Oh,
I
that's
think,
great.
high praise because he's also a very honest person. But he likes that dual POV, switching then into third person when necessary. So I I do plan to continue writing in first person as much as humanly possible, just because I think it unlocks a lot for me creatively to really dive into those characters, be those characters, and help them come to life more for the reader.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, if they're anything like the going for the gold piece that you wrote, then I think you've got a talent for it. A lot of people don't like the switching back, but I think it can be done as long as you start it earlier. I think there was a question about this in our writing group just the other day about how having a story that's in POV and then switching to another person's viewpoint to tell a story from their perspective. But there was the only time they did that in the novel, and so that can be very jarring. And if you kind of establish it up front that there's two first person POVs and occasionally a third person, it might work. You're going to lose some readers, of course, but you're always going to lose some readers on every decision you make. There's no way around that. So you have to write it for yourself and what you like the most. But as long as you're not like waiting to add in some third person until the second half of the novel when people are like, what? That might help. But that's really interesting. And so you said you were working on that for about 6 years. How often do you write? I mean, you said you were taking it a bit more seriously recently, especially with submissions, but is that your whole writing routine is being taken more seriously? Are you writing more often now, or have you been kind of consistent with the last few years? What's your writing routine like is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, now I'm more into it. I know how to balance my time. I think for a while I was very focused on family and work and kind of climbing the corporate ladder to an extent. And right now, work wise, I'm kind of where I want to be. So I'm dedicating more time into what I want to do outside of work and kind of saying no to things at work so I can have a more balanced life. But the first one, I think also I started back in 2015 and I picked it up here and there. I get distracted when I'm on my laptop writing a lot of the times. So that was all handwritten, which was, it's
Oh, wow.
115,000 words handwritten in 4 or 5 different journals. But COVID really, like, just having 2 years of everything kind of being shut down, and especially the first few months here where we weren't going to see family, we had nowhere to go, nowhere to
Nothing to
be.
do, yeah.
We were just at home all the time. I committed to writing 1,000 words per week, which was a lot for me then. So every night I would write a little bit, and then every Sunday I would type up what I had written. And in a year and a half, I finished the first draft of the first novel. And then last year, I was supposed to be editing all of that. And then I read my first romance novel, which was recommended by a brand new bookstore that opened here. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write one of these now. And I wrote that first draft in 11 weeks. And just absolutely love it. So all of my attention is really focused on that right now. I'm under strict orders not to start writing anything new until that one is eventually published. So working on self-publishing that sometime this summer. But right now I feel like I have so many ideas that just want to come out. So hopefully I'll be back to what I did last summer with the romance novel, which is more of like 1,000 words per day, which is a challenge when you do work full time and you have two kids and you're shuttling them back and forth everywhere, but it's still doable. You just don't get a whole lot of sleep, but it's kind of what I want to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
doing moving forward.
I'm familiar with the choosing not to sleep in order to get everything done.
Yep.
What you mentioned your job and you are where you want to be. What is it that you do?
I work for a resort company and I work in the reservations department and I'm the hiring and training manager. So I go through interviews, not every day. We only bring on maybe 20 to 30 new people per year, but I do all the interviewing, all of the kind of background reference checks, bring them on. And then I kind of joked in my author bio with this story that I'm putting my education degree to good use. But the training absolutely 100% uses that education background that I have. So I get to educate them over the course of 2 to 3 weeks on our destination, what we have to offer, how to make reservations. So it's kind of this best of both worlds scenario because I tried teaching as a long-term sub and I hated it. I was not good, but now I'm able to kind of leverage those skills and that background in what I do now. So
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it explains why you're so comfortable and have a great demeanor on camera, since you probably spend quite a bit of time in your job doing pretty much exactly this, but from the other side,
I
right?
try. That's a little bit more scripted than this is, so I am a
That's
little nervous.
oh well. I mean, it doesn't come across. You're doing fantastic. Yeah, awesome. And so you said that back during the pandemic, you had said you had set yourself a goal of 1,000 words per week, which was a lot for you then. Is that
Mhm.
not still a lot for you now, or have you been writing more recently?
I have been so focused on just editing right now that I can't, I think because I'm so in the character's head that I feel like I can't be writing something new while I'm editing. And with doing the short stories, because I've written 5 now so far this year. So that's kind of been my one departure. And I've been writing those versus a new novel.
Mhm.
But I do plan probably in about 2 weeks to finish edits on my current novel and then really dive into the new one and hopefully have that first draft finished by the end of the summer. So it might be more like 500 words per day just because there's a lot going on in my life right now. But yeah, I plan to still be pretty aggressive with just getting something down on paper and then taking the time to edit after I've written it.
Well, it sounds like your ability to write novels is accelerating. A year and a half for the first one, 11 weeks for the next one, and you're looking at something roughly about the same for the third one, aren't you? Somewhere this summer. So
Yeah.
that's a fantastic pace, especially for a new writer. And I think the more you write those books, the better they're gonna be, the better you're gonna be as a writer, and the better chance of success they're gonna have as you go into publishing. So you said you wanted to self-publish, and it sounds like that's what you're set on. Why is that? Right? Did you consider traditional publishing, and what made you choose to go this route?
I did. So I did consider traditional publishing, and I'll say it's not out of the realm of possibility in the future. But for Christmas, my husband actually got me a book about surviving your first book deal. And it talks mostly about traditional publishing. And it just is terrifying to me because she talks about how you kind of lose a lot of your creative control. And I'm a control freak. So that I don't love. And then there's also just the waiting game, trying to get an agent and then waiting to see if anyone publishing wise picks up your book. And it's like, I just want to make it happen because I love the story that I've written. I want it out there. I want to make sure that people have a chance to read it. So I don't want to wait a year or 5 years for an agent to see the value in my work. I don't want to wait, maybe 3 years for something to actually get published. I just kind of want to make it happen now. So that's, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a control freak. So I'm just making it happen right now. And then in the future, I feel like I can query agents with a little bit more experience. And I have a physical thing that I've created that I can say, here's what I'm capable of, here's what I've done. And hopefully some sales numbers that might impress them too, that they want to get involved. So I'll probably pursue something like that in the future. But this go round, I'm just like, okay, writing the book was like the this thing that I've done that I've never done before, really. And getting it ready for publication, I've definitely never done. So we're just gonna not add in the query process to this. We're just gonna put it out into the world.
Yeah, sure. And are you gonna like, are you somebody that can take on the marketing and the promotion and the kind of building and maintaining of the brand? Is that, and it's, you keep saying we, so is your husband going in on this with you? Is he a big help in you partners in this, or are you just is it you and your book? I say we sometimes. It's just me here at Elegant Literature, but I mean me and the company, me and the magazine. So
Yeah. I'm very used to we language from my job as well, because it's always we this, we that. But yeah, it's me in the book and the husband too. He's, like I said, he's very supportive, and we are polar opposites. So we make up this kind of complete person. But he is very logic based and facts, and I'm the dreamer, and he grounds me a lot, which is really, really helpful. But he also kind of looks at everything with a different perspective than I do. So he's been a huge help in this whole process. And yeah, I mean, we're a team. So kind of making all of these decisions, it's like kind of, I don't want to just do it by myself because it affects both of us. So,
well, and it certainly does, because self-publishing, depending on how much you want to put into it, can get expensive. Like it's not, because that's one of the benefits of traditional publishing is you typically don't have to spend a lot of money. Except nowadays with smaller presses, you're kind of responsible for half of it anyway. But doing self-publishing, it's kind of all on you. So you have to shell out for all the different aspects of it, and that you can't handle yourself, and then potentially sink money into marketing. And if you don't get a return on it, I mean, it can have ramifications for your spouse as well, and your spouse and your children, because it is your money at the end of the day. So it's great to hear that you're kind of both involved in it and both kind of determined to go for it. And then he supports you so much that he's willing to kind of get behind you and really push your books out there. He probably secretly just wants you to write more so you can read them. He doesn't read that much. He's like, I'd read more of this. He's got to get more of it out there.
Yeah, I did make him read a very popular romance novel last year, and it's like more kind of rom-com. It's not like the old school, like, did they call them bodice busters back in the day, like the Fabio book cover type romance novels?
Yeah.
But I made him read a really good one last year, just so he had something to compare mine to see if I was kind of on track with how it should be written and all of that. And he was like, okay, you're good. Like, you're doing fine. So it's really cool to hear.
That's great, especially if he is being kind of like critical and honest. That's what you want to hear, for sure. Yeah. So I had a question, is that you're obviously making a go of being an author here. Now you're an award-winning author now, something to add to your book covers or and whatnot. But and you're going forward with the self-publishing. You've got 2 books kind of underway and one in the pipeline for the future. What happens if they're a success, right? Like, what happens if you go self-publishing and one of them takes off and you bring in enough income from your book sales that you could write full-time? What would you do?
It's a great question.
And I can delete this part of the interview if you don't want your work to hear your answer.
No, so I don't know. I think there's a difference between being able to sustain yourself full time and then feeling comfortable enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how long can you sustain yourself full time? Because I don't know, like, there's a difference between earning millions and earning $30,000. So I really like what I do. I do plan to keep working, but my family is also really big on, you can't take it with you. Back when my mom was younger than I am now, there were some health problems. And so we weren't sure if she would still be around when she was the age that I am currently. So she and I have talked a lot about why we love to plan vacations, because my husband's like, can we just stay home for a little? I'm like, but I want to go see places. Like, I love to go to New York. I love going to DC and going to the museums and just kind of being out there. And I don't want to go to like necessarily exotic locations, but I don't know, like, I want to go on a cruise. I want to go to Disney World with my kids again and kind of just take them out to the Grand Canyon and explore a little bit more. So I love the idea of being able to still balance writing with the full-time job, where the writing income, if it takes off, can be more of like really cool trips and vacations. We've also joked many times about buying a lake house somewhere and kayaks and just having like our little writing retreat cottage or something like that, where we can get away for long weekends and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I plan to keep working for a while, and then just writing as much as humanly possible around life, just because I like stability, but I also like to have extra money to go do adventurous things with my people. So yeah.
Yeah. So even if you had legions of ravenous fans that were demanding another novel as soon as possible, you'd have to juggle that with your day job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, even if I wasn't working full time, I don't know that I could write a first draft a whole lot faster than 12 weeks. But I do think that if I have legions of fans, then I'm probably going to be traditionally published at that point. And then it's like, okay, first draft is written. Someone else take over now. Like, send this to an editor and let them do this thing that because I've been editing nonstop since September, um,
Mhm.
which is like, I
That's
think I've
quite a
read my own
while.
book 32 times. So I think it would be nice to kind of give that up and, okay, you edit, I'm going to be writing another book over the next 12 weeks. That kind of schedule would be great.
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense. So you mentioned that you wrote your the last novel in kind of snippets. You had a goal of 1,000 words a week, and you kind of got it here and there. What would your ideal writing situation be? Like you mentioned the little writing cottage, but barring the little writing cottage, at right now in your current situation, if you had an hour or two to write, where do you go to would you go to a coffee shop? Do you just sit right here where you are right now? Or are you kind of out for a walk dictating it to your phone or something?
Oh, that would be great. I would love to just go for a walk and dictate. I honestly, my favorite thing to do, and I feel like the way that I've written a lot most recently, is just waking up before everyone else in my house on a Saturday morning, making myself my own coffee here, just so I'm not wasting time driving to pick some up somewhere, and then just sitting down at a quiet spot here. Um, People always give me writing themed gifts, which is I'm so easy to shop for birthdays and Christmas. So I have like 3 writing themed candles in my area where I write. So I just light one of them, whichever speaks to me in the moment, and I will just light a candle and sit there and write until everyone else starts waking up and making noise. But that's like my dream. It's one seat at a certain table in my house, and that's just where I do most of my writing.
That's the happy time when it's quiet, no one's bothering you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I think I'm pretty close to finish with my questions, although I did have one that I like to ask people. Um, it's the same question I think Tim Ferriss sort of asks all the people that he interviews, but with a writerly bent. So, what's the most useful product that you've got in the last 6 months or so under $100? Maybe one of those writing related products, since we're
Oh my
writers.
gosh. Most useful product I've gotten in the last 6 months for under $100. Um, okay, I'm a nerd. The Acroball, like Pilot Acroball roller pens, I love them. I don't have one right in front of me because they're all downstairs where I write, but they're my favorite pens. They write really nicely. So pack of those and like a fresh journal, like
What are they
$17 and
called?
you're good to go.
That's a great one. I don't think anybody's ever said pens before. Somebody said the chair they were sitting in is so comfortable. What are the
Good.
pens called?
They're Pilot Acroball pens.
Good enough.
Yeah, I love them. I don't
Maybe
know
I'll give them a
why.
try because I'm basically just using dollar store pens here. Actually, I did get I started using mechanical pencils for taking notes because I just like them. They're thinner and they kind of the lead breaks, which forces me to be lighter and also write more slowly because if I'm scribbling madly, the lead will often break. So I have to slow down. And it's really good for note taking because you
Mhm.
remember the things that you're taking notes on when you're one writing longhand and two kind of going slower. So I love that. But I had these cheap little plastic mechanical pens. So I think for Christmas, my partner got me. Well, you can't really see it because of the camera thing, but it's a beautiful mechanical pencil that's actually like slightly more quality than the plastic one. So I understand the good pen situation, the good writing utensils. So I'm going to check those out, and I suggest anyone else does too, I suppose. Um, so my final question for you before we're all done here is, I mean, I know that you are kind of a new writer, although not really new in the eyes of elegant literature anymore, since you've won the award for new writers, $3,000 prize. Again, congratulations, by the way. It's fantastic stuff, and you definitely deserve it. But I'm sure somebody watching this, they might be feeling like you're a step ahead of them now, because you've had this published, you have won an award, you've written 2 novels. So what piece of advice would you give to a newer writer looking to get their work published?
So I would definitely say just get it on paper. Don't edit as you write. Just get it out there. The editing comes later. And then it's a second piece of advice. Sorry, you asked for one, but
you can give 2. You can give 3 or 4 if you want. We have all day.
Okay. Definitely find people who you trust, who will be very honest with you. Because that is my husband for me. Like, I just love him, and he is my absolute best friend, and he will always be honest with me no matter what, for better or worse. And he will tell me when something does not make sense. He will tell me when he really likes something. So find someone who will give you that kind of feedback, whether they love to read or not. And I find that people who don't read 37 books every month are probably going to be able to give you more honest feedback than those who do, because those people might just love everything. But yeah, just get it down, write the story, edit later, and then find someone to give you that really honest feedback that you need so you can improve.
Fantastic. That's great advice. I completely agree with you. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to hearing that you get those novels published. I'll certainly be looking at reading them, since I obviously love your work. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful. I guess, all right, you have a wonderful day, and we'll be watching your career and reading more of your work soon, I hope.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye now.
Bye.